All right, guys, welcome. What is up? This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to take their brands to the next level. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me, of course, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And it is a sensational Super Saturday. All right, guys, if you're tuned in live, go ahead and put some flames in the comments and also let us know where you're listening in from. Bobby, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Junior. Super excited. I I, I love being an entrepreneur. I really thought about it recently, and I was like, I love this. I love it. I love being able to wake up and say, my space is my space. Like I own this space, and then to speak and say, my voice is my voice. I speak my opinion authentically, and to say my check is my check. Like I sign my own checks, I pay myself. Don't have to go to the bank or don't go to like a boss to get paid. And it's like, as I just thought about all those, yeah, it comes with risk, it comes with all this other stuff, but being able to have autonomy wouldn't change it for the world. So I'm feeling very free today. Freedom is ringing for me right now. How you doing?
I feel amazing, Bobby. I feel really good. I'm looking at I started looking at a series, a Netflix series very recently. I love looking at series like Vikings. There's something about it that absolutely, I don't know, it sort of, I feel like if I was born in that era, I'll probably be on a ship somewhere sailing across the sea in search of new land and things like that. But I was looking at an episode just this morning, and one person was saying that, well, it basically was a challenge. Like, the question was, who is fit to be the new king? Or what makes up a good king? And then somebody else said, two kinds of strength. The first strength is intellectual strength, meaning intelligence. And then the second strength is the one that can defend his word or his position. I find that very interesting because in business, if you want to be the one, if you want to be the entrepreneur that makes it to seven figures, that make it to eight figures and nine figures, etc., then you have to have these two kinds of strength. You have to have the intelligence to make it there, but then you also have to have the sort of mental fortitude, so to speak, to withstand the ups, the downs, the times when you don't get paid, the times when you don't see money, the times where it feels like nothing's going right. You have to have that kind of strength. So my question to the audience before we go to the first break is, which one of you is fit enough to be king or queen? Meaning, which one of you has the intelligence, the emotional intelligence, the mental fortitude to withstand the ups and downs of entrepreneurship? If that's you, then put a number one in the chat. We're going to go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to go straight into the topic. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after like 60 seconds.
There's slow growth and then there's scale. There's incremental growth and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 plus 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 plus 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 plus 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 plus 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. In brand clarity, exactly what you're going to get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're gonna learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is gonna have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand.
All right, guys, welcome back. Of course, this is Breakfast with the Brand. I see Dr. Michelle put her one in the chat. So Dr. Michelle is fit to be queen. That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, guys. So let's get right into the topic. So the topic for today is your brand is the beginning of your legacy. So write that down. By the way, you should have a pen and a notepad. One of my mentors says, "What is written will be retained." So what is your brand? And your brand is the beginning of your legacy. So let's get into it, Bobby.
Absolutely. So I love how you opened up this conversation with the Viking piece and with fit to be king, fit to be queen. And the brand is the beginning of the legacy. So when you think back to kings like King Arthur, King Alexander the Great, and you think back to queens like Cleopatra, and you think back to Queen Elizabeth, second and third, and you think back to King Henry, like all of these individuals had something in common. They had a brand. They had a brand. And you knew they had a brand by how their kingdom expressed itself. So your brand is an extension of you. It's an extension of your legacy. Alexander the Great, like Napoleon Hill, had a brand. And many people know, and Napoleon Hill, as well as the other Napoleon, the king, or the warrior, rather. So Napoleon Hill, the one that wrote Think and Grow Rich, and Napoleon, the warfighter. All of those guys had brands. And what I want you to think about is how they began their journey, how they began their brand has a lot to do with how they're remembered. So I want you to think about you. How are you getting started? Or how clear are you? How confident are you? How intentional are you? Because all of these things matter. And as we dive into the conversation today, I just want us to dive deep into the brand development components. Things like origin brand story. It's a component of the brand. Things like the color schemes. Those are components of the brand. Things like the texture, the brand texture. Things like the brands, what people say about the brand when you leave the room. Exactly, Napoleon Bonaparte. And all of those things matter. So I'm going to share a little bit about my brand, and then I'm going to turn it over to Junior to share a little bit about his, and then we're going to talk about the brand that we both represent. And we really want to help you guys understand that your legacy that you're trying to build, like this wealth building journey that you're on, the legacy, all of that stuff can be yours, but it begins with a brand, because that's what they remember. They don't remember the money. They remember the brand. They don't remember the business. They remember the brand. They don't remember the people. They remember the brand. And that's what you're building. So, and by the way, the brand is the name in many cases. They remember the name. The name is associated with the brand. All right. So for me, I've got finance as a part of what I do. And then I've got my family as a part of who I do it for. I've got my kids, my wife. I've got the college that I went to in order to get to a certain level. So I've got certain education, experience, expertise. All of these little things make up the brand. So as I was going through these things, I had to ask myself, who do I want to work with? So I like working with veterans because that's a part of my origin brand story. So as I said, Okay, I did 12 years in Marine Corps. I want to work with veterans and help them build businesses, veterans that have families. Then, boom, I started going down this pathway. And as I started to go down this pathway, what ended up happening is the brand began to emerge. So, what I will likely be known for, if I stay down this path, is a honorable veteran Marine that served special operations and helped build other veterans into phenomenal business owners through financial engineering and business consultations. His wife and family loved him dearly. His community respected him greatly, and he served his country in more than one way, both economically and on the battlefield. And that's the beginning of the brand. So, what are some of your thoughts on that, Junior, and your perspectives on how you look at it and just what you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same, Bobby. So you write your story. Each and every single one of us is writing our story with everything that we do. So my perspective on the brand and the legacy, I mean, the only reason why we know people is because of the brand. Like I see Dr. Michelle put, I think she put in Napoleon Bonaparte. Well, we know him because of what he did, because of his story, right? History, his story. So my question to the audience is, how are you writing your story? Because that's what it's about. I love the way you framed it, Bobby. You did sort of like a, almost like a cutscene, eulogy style thing there, where you're telling your story based on the trajectory of your brand. I would argue that your story will be a lot bigger than what you just said. So I think you left out a couple parts, just a few parts, right? I think it'll be a lot bigger than what you think. But man, like you have to create the story. You have to create the story, and how do you create a story? You create a story with decisions. So Sean has this great framework called the 3D framework, and I believe the last D in that framework is making a decision. So my question, or my rather statement rather, is how can you create your brand story by being more conscious about your decisions? While you were going through that spiel, I'm thinking to myself, what brand story have I created so far? And I would be interested to see what people say. I don't really think about this stuff. I'm just going through my life, and I'm not really stopping to think. But I think it's worth it to be conscious about what you're doing as far as the story and actually writing it. Now, in the beginning of this episode, I started talking about Vikings, right? The show. Interestingly enough, something that I noticed about Vikings, about that era, if you look at the king or the queen, the king or the queen had what's called a scribe. So, what is a scribe? A scribe is somebody who writes. So, remember, back in the day, not everybody could read and write. It was only a selected few people that could actually read and write. Now, the king and the queen had a scribe. So, every day they would, go into the sort of like the mental lab, okay, and they would dictate to their scribe what story they want them to write. So, for example, let's take Dr. Michelle, for example. Dr. Michelle would have a scribe as a queen, and she would literally tell the scribe, okay, I want you to write rather, that in the year 2024, I was able to help 1 million women see a brand new life after breast cancer. Make sure you write that down. And then when you're done, write down, we did this through retreats, we did this through get togethers, we did this through courses, we did this through coaching. And Dr. Michelle is literally, she's speaking her story into existence, and her scribe is writing that story. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a king, you're a queen of your business. My question to you is, you may not have a scribe, okay, or not in the 1700s, 1600s, but how are you consciously writing that story through your content? How are you writing that story through your content? I want you to imagine, just imagine for a second, Bobby. And I've asked this question a couple of times. If you could go back in time, or maybe even today, with the rise of the internet, if you could see what your great grandfather was like, would you like to see that?
Be really cool.
Just to look at to tune in and go on YouTube and just see what he was like, right? What did he do? What did he like? How did he speak? How did he move? How did he behave with people on a day-to-day basis? What was his philosophy? What did he think about the world? How did he think about the world? How did he make decisions? How did he overcome challenges? What did he care about? What was his mission? What was his purpose? What was his idea for his family and for future generations and for people like you living today? Wouldn't that be cool to see something like that? Put it in the chat. Well, check this out. We right now, we have the opportunity to become that person for our great grandchildren. So through your content, what story will you tell? Because right after you're gone, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, they'll be able to see what you were like,
Yeah.
what you cared about, how you spoke, how you led, what did you do? What was your impact? So my question and just something to think about is, what will that be for you? How will you scribe your story? And the way that you scribe your story is 100% with a brand. And that's why we're talking here today. So if you don't have a brand, if you haven't, in fact, everybody has a brand. If you haven't consciously taken care or provided care to your brand, then now's the time. Okay. And if you are on that path and you're taking care of that brand and you're putting that brand out there, then amazing job. How can you do more? How
Yeah.
can you consciously create the story that you want your grandkids? Like, honestly, Bobby, I don't fancy like social media and stuff like that, but I will put out content for that reason, because I would want my great grandchildren to see what I was like. But if it's just for me, bro, I'm not a kind of I'm not a very flashy guy. I don't even like, the only reason I'm on this show is for you. I don't even like social media, but I will put out content, number one, to help people, and number two, because I would have really loved to see what my grandfather was like when he was young and what he believed in, what he cared about. And so I'm gonna do that for somebody else.
That's powerful, Junior. It really is. And as I think about who watches our content, it's normally people that have a similar desire to be a leader, someone that you can look up to, someone that you can model behavior after, and someone that if you follow the way that they execute, it'll help you and inspire you to become a leader yourself. So that's another thing that I kind of just picked up out of that whole conversation is that when the only reason I would really want to look back at my granddad, or look back at my grandma is so that I could borrow their wisdom, so that I could understand their thinking, so that I could follow their leadership. Like I wouldn't want to go back and criticize them. I wouldn't want to go back and laugh at them. I wouldn't want to go back and just watch for the sake of watching. I'm watching with intent. And the intent is to learn so that I might follow. And you only follow leaders if you're responsible anyway, right? You're looking to follow a leader. So the whole idea of building a brand that stands the test of time is extending your leadership throughout generations. Now, that's a statement. The ability to extend one's leadership throughout generations. And I think the Bible establishes this pretty well. Like the teachings of Jesus in this instance would be very good example. The teachings of Muhammad in the Quran, very good. Siddhartha in I believe, the Bhagavad Gita. Um, but it's like a lot of people's leadership stood the test of time simply because they branded themselves properly. Like this, I'll be very careful when I say this, but it's like if you think about the cross, that's a brand. It's a brand symbol. And that brand symbol is connected to a person. Name in this case would be Jesus. And that extends for generations. And you don't have to be necessarily religious or non-religious to appreciate that idea or to realize the impact that his leadership and life had on that community and the effects that it's having on people today. So as you build a brand and as you build your legacy, one thing to understand is that people, if you do this right, will want to follow you, even once you're dead and gone. So the question becomes now, what do you leave them to follow? What are you going to leave them to follow? And I think that's what we're doing here, which is very, very important. Is like we're taking a responsibility intentionally, meaning we know that everybody says one thing, but the truth is another. Here's what a lot of people say. When you're dead and you're gone and it's over and and it's just boom. Like that's what a lot of people say. I'm not here to say what happens when people pass away, but I am here to say this. Once you're gone, there are a lot of things that you put in motion while you were alive that stay in motion after your death. A lot of things. Your kids, they keep living. Things that you taught them continue to perpetuate. Decisions debt you had continues to grow. Somebody's got to pay it. All of the things, just because you go away, doesn't mean the things that you put in motion while you were alive go away. All of those things are still moving. And when we take responsibility of that, what we realize is that we can influence the direction of that momentum after we're long gone. And that's what many of the martyrs do, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Nelson Mandela. They know, and Nelson, I don't believe has passed away yet, but with the martyrs, they understood that after death, Tupac could be a good example as well. After death, there's still momentum that is attached to the brand that I developed while I lived. So we're going to go to a break, but I just wanted to put that in perspective because you have so much more influence, power, and leadership and legacy. Like the reason you're doing this is for all the right reasons. It's just not a lot of people talking about it, but leadership is important. Your brand and how your brand exists after you're gone is important. Steve Jobs and Apple is still inspiring people today, long after cancer caused his life to come to an end. So no matter how you go out, the way you live matters. And the brand you leave behind matters also.
I said Shaan Rais. I'm proud. I said Shaan Rais. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the three I's: the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the three E's and the three I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right.
All right, guys. So we're back. Amazing, amazing conversation so far. Okay, so Bobby, let's continue. Let's keep it going.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I want to appreciate you guys in the comment section, because I was like, I'm not sure when Mandela died, but I know the other two are gone. But yes, Mandela has passed away. He passed away at 95, looks like, in the chat there. And I believe that year was 2013. 2013. But I personally am still inspired by Nelson Mandela, as if the man was still alive. So that's pretty insightful for me. But thank you guys in the comment section and on the back end for keeping us honest. Price of unscripted, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I don't write none of this stuff down. As I'm going and it's coming to me, I'm giving it to you guys in real time. But that's exactly what I mean, is that the brand can be so powerful that you really don't know if they're dead or alive. Like, it's like, are they real? Huh? And you're acting like you're living as if they are. Like, people that don't know Steve Jobs is like passed away might feel like he's still alive because of how many people use his name. How many people say he's inspired them? How many people say, wow, this is still impacting me? Like, the amount of people that talk about Steve in a lively way and in an inspirational way and in a leadership-like way. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know. If you believe that he's still walking around, but he's actually ran his run, and he ran it so well that people are still being impacted by it today. And that's how I feel about Nelson. So thank you guys. But yeah, as we make this transition through the rest of today's piece on just the legacy side of the house, I really want to talk about, as I pass this piece to Junior also, is as you build your legacy, are you serious about legacy, or are you serious about fame? Because I found that it's a very insidious kind of emotion, like fame, this desire to be known, this desire to be a celebrity, the desire to be celebrated. Like, it's a very insidious, strong desire that kind of, like, you didn't start with that intention, but then boom, it comes out of nowhere. It's like, that wasn't what I wanted, but it's here now. And it's like, it's hard to fight it when it comes. And then you got legacy. Now, legacy is different from fame, in my opinion. I believe legacy is what tools you leave behind for future generations to leverage and embody. The tools and example that you leave behind for future generations to leverage and embody. I think that's legacy, because it's about leaving something behind that other people can use and then giving it to them in such a way that it improves their life. Now, fame, on the other hand, I think is just being well known. And I think it's just being out there. I think it's more celebratory. So I really would like everybody to ask yourselves, are you really in this thing for the legacy? Or are you in this thing for the fame? So if you're in it for the fame, I don't know. But if you're in it for the legacy, the leadership piece is non-negotiable. So, Junior, have you ever thought about being famous? Like, have you ever thought about legacy versus fame? Like, you?
Man, I've never thought about it in that particular way. Funny enough, Bobby. Funny enough, the first time I went to America, that was back in 2008. That was around, I think Obama was running for office. If I'm And you could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but I think that was the first time Obama was really. Was it 2008? Somebody just fact check me in the comments. Let me know if that's right. But that's what I remember. That's over 10 years ago. So I don't. fully remember, but that's what I remember. I remembered coming to the US. I was in Brooklyn, in somewhere in Brooklyn, and I was walking with one of my aunts. We were walking past a train station in Brooklyn, and I saw this huge photo, like like Bobby, huge, like what do you call it? It's not even a billboard. It's like it was like
Mural,
an entire wall. I don't know what you call it. What do you call it?
a mural.
Well, it wasn't painted. It wasn't painted. It was like an actual picture.
Hmm.
Well, my my aunt and I were walking. It was a really, really huge picture. I said to my aunt, and some people said to us, "Hey, isn't that you on that on that picture?" So I looked at them like, "What?" I like that. Does sort of look like me, right? That does sort of look like me. And then I like, who was that? And she told me that was Chris Brown. That was really funny, bro. That was really funny. And people a very long time ago, people used to mistake me for him. Like, are you guys related and stuff like that? I used to say no, I don't know him. But it's funny. The reason I bring that up is because I've never really thought about legacy versus fame. But my idea of fame, like when I look at people that are famous, I don't know, and I could be wrong, but not fame doesn't automatically mean happy. That's just me. Fame doesn't automatically mean happy. So personally, would I prefer to be famous? Only if I had to. And the reason I say that is only if me being famous means that I could do more good than me not being famous. That's the only reason I would want. Because to me, it seems like it's nice, but every celebrity will tell you they can't go to a restaurant, they can't take their kids for a walk, you can't go to the supermarket, simple things like that. Like I wouldn't like that life. So I don't think I would want to be famous for no reason. But if it means that I would have to be famous to, bring out some kind of message or something like that, then it would be a huge sacrifice that if it was really connected to my purpose, then I would do. But apart from that, I wouldn't want to be famous. No, I would prefer to leave a legacy behind.
And that's what I know many of our viewers resonate with. I'm very confident that that's their same sentiment. It's like, yeah, that fame and celebrity stuff sounds good. It looks cool, but we're not here for that. Like most of our audience too is much older. We know you guys are not 20, 25, 30. Like you've been around, you've lived life, you've gone to the parties, you've seen the lights. You're at a stage in your life where you're like, yo, what am I leaving
Yep.
behind? You're at that stage where it's like, I am not here for the parties. I'm not here for the bubbly. I'm not here for the fame, for the women, for the guys. I'm here for the legacy. I'm here for the generations. And when you get to that stage in your life, I think it's very important to know how to make the most of those years. Because in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about when most men hit their stride. Very interesting. Most men hit their stride after 40. And he said they hit their stride after 40 because their wild oats, so to speak, have calmed down enough for them to focus. And that their manly, masculine energy, that thing that's just rah, 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 they've been living with it long enough to tame it, to channel it. So when men are young boys, they call them young bucks, like they're bucking all over the place and they can't really be controlled, and then they're chasing the woman and they're pursuing the love as though their minds are all over the place, and they're going through heartbreaks and whatnot. But when the man reaches 40, he's lived a certain amount of years, he's sown and put certain amounts of energy out, and now he's not dull, but he has kind of a harness now. He's able to channel it. And this isn't just with men, I don't think, but I think it was expressed in the book. I know it was expressed in the book for men. But the reason I bring this up is because when you hit this stage, two things are true. One thing is true is you don't have a lot of time left. You don't have a lot of time left. The other thing that is true is you're way wiser than when you were, if you've been learning from your mistakes. A 40-year-old man is way wiser than a 30-year-old man if he's been learning from his mistakes and taking risks. A 40-year-old man is way wiser than an 18-year-old man if he's been learning from his mistakes and taking risks. So now you're at this unique situation where you're much more mature. You've got a sense of urgency about yourself as the years tick away. And then you have wisdom. Like you've got this wisdom, this maturity, and a timeline that is working against you. And that's when people, they take off. So if you're watching this and you feel like that's you, like you feel like you're way wiser, but you haven't built the brand, you feel like you've got leadership capacity and you've been leading, but you're not positioned as a leader, meaning you're not positioned in the marketplace and positioned in your family as a pillar that people can look up to. So you've got a lot of wisdom, experience, and expertise, education that's just not being leveraged right now. Like there is a world, there is a how does Junior like to say it? He doesn't say a galaxy, he says a universe. There's a universe in where you exist as a leader that is positioned properly, branded effectively, and taking full responsibility of leading your current family, be it male or female, and your children, and establishing a legacy. And if that's what you want more of, keep coming, keep showing up. So, Junior, I'd love to see how you think about leadership and brand positioning from a standpoint of non-business, because it goes deeper than business. Like we do this for our families, we do it for generational wealth, we do it for our communities. So granted, it's connected to business, but how do you think about it when it's not connected to business? Because we don't just think about Steve Jobs and Apple, we think about Steve Jobs and who he was as a person, not just who he was as a CEO.
So I'm of the mindset of you can have it all. That's my mindset. I don't see the separation between business and personal, or at least I don't think there should be. I believe in alignment. I believe that for you to really be successful, I don't mean monetary, success. I mean holistic success. I think everything has to be in alignment, and for everything to be in alignment, your like certain values have to be in alignment. So for me, and it could be different for everybody, I have certain values, and they have a certain order, right? So number one for me is God. That's number one. So God, number one. Number two, I think is family. Number three, health. Number four, business. So business is number four. I believe if you can be a leader in all of those other three areas, a leader when it comes to your relationship with God, a leader when it comes to your family, you could lead your family, a leader when it comes to your health, meaning that you're in the gym, you're working out, you're taking care of yourself, you're in your most, like in your healthiest self, your most aesthetic self. I believe that you could be successful in business as well. I think it would be a tragedy, to be successful in business and then lose your family, or be successful in business and then not have a relationship with God, or be successful in business and have terrible health. Have to give it all back away to the doctor. So that's the way I look at it, Bobby. I look at it as there is no separation, and if there is, then I'm doing something wrong. My values are not in alignment, and I need to check myself because something's off. So that's the way I see it. I refuse to not have everything. Like I refuse to not. I want everything. You know what I mean? So I want a good relationship with God. I want a good family. I want good health, and then I want a good business. So I want it all. I don't want one without the other. So when you talk about leadership, in a way that does not have to do with business. I would say that leadership, true leadership, transcends everything, including business. The true leadership will spill over into business. You would not have to, Bobby, think, if you really think of it, how can you be a leader in your business when you cannot be a leader in your family? I don't see it. Do you see it, Bobby? Because I don't. Maybe somebody could tell me how that works. I don't see how that works. Can you? Has it been done? Yes, it has been done. But I mean, look at that. Look at where the path to that has led. And when I say that, I'm talking about being a leader, having a group or a company culture that is absolutely amazing, where everybody's on fire, everybody's thrilled, everybody's excited, everybody's living their best life. How can you, as the leader, inspire other people and lead other people to do that when you haven't done it yourself? So that's my take. My take is you have to earn it all. Earn it all. And leadership starts with checking your values and making sure that your leadership transcends all of those values, including business. And that's just me. I mean, the values may be different for other people. Yours may look different from mine. But I'm just saying, I would hate to be successful in business, to be a leader in business, and then not have good health, or not have a family, or not have any relationship with God. It would be a tragedy to me. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah. You know, that's deep. And we're not going to go down that path today because it's a lot there. It's a lot there because all of them, in some shape, form, or fashion, in my experience, with the exception, not even with the exception of God, all of them have been sacrificed at various times. And it's been interesting because you'll sacrifice your family and your health for, say, business, and then you'll sacrifice business and potentially God at times for your family. Not saying you should, but that's as far as I will go with that conversations as of now. It's like sacrifices and understanding which sacrifices you won't make and which sacrifices you will make, and then understanding how to own those sacrifices depending on which way they go. Because in business, it's all risky. In life, it's all risky. In like health, you could get something genetically, it's all risky. So there's no way, in my experience, to really get away from it or really to control it. It's just a matter of being strong enough to endure it as it comes. But we'll stop there because that's a very dense and interesting perspective and topic. So as we close out today and we start thinking about legacy, wealth building, growth, development, insights, power, wisdom, growth, like all of those things, it's what we do here. And on the back end of that, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of work. All right. But the work is rewarding. Like it's rewarding. It's not work where you're toiling and you're dying and you're not happy. It's like work that you get a reward from. So that's one thing. And the reason I bring up the work on the back end is because I remember in the Marine Corps, we would do a lot of work together and we would do hard things together. And by doing very hard things together, it would make the thing not as bad. You know, it would make it not so miserable. I think Junior could probably agree when it comes to his gym team that he had, the calisthenics group. Like he was probably doing some grueling workouts, but to be there sweating with his boys, you know, make it not so bad than when you're sweating by yourself. And to be carrying up 5 tons of AC up a flight of stairs, like by yourself, that's miserable. But if you got some guys cracking jokes in there, all working, you know, it makes it a little bit better. And that's something that I've realized is that camaraderie makes very complicated and confrontational times more bearable. Camaraderie, the ability to connect with others and endure a similar situation with unity and respect for one another and for self. And that's something that we've developed in the Branded Like You Academy, or Branded Like a Leader, excuse me, Branded Like a Leader Academy. So I just wanted to introduce that to you guys because we talked about a lot today. And you don't have to make any decisions today. You can hit us up if you want to know more about it. But if you are in a place where you're really putting out, like you're doing a lot, you're doing the most, you're aggressively attacking your dreams, your goals with the intent of building a legacy and leaving generational wealth behind, but also enjoying some of that wealth while you're here. It's like if that's you, but you're alone, ugh, I don't even want to know what that feels like. I know it's a lot because it's a lot when you have a group, when you have a team, when you have support. It's a lot. So if you're by yourself and you're alone and you have no one to talk to, no one to turn to, nobody understands, everybody's on your neck, like everybody needs you. Like everybody needs you. And you can't be needed by any, like everyone needs you, but you have nowhere to turn. Like you have no one to lean on. You have nowhere to go. You have nothing to replenish yourself with. Like that's a tough place to be. And if that's you, Branded Like a Leader Academy can be that well of refreshing water. That well of refreshing water where you can come and get your cup filled, where you can come and hear from other entrepreneurs that are going through. And so you can have someone to lean on that's gone further than you've gone to date and can help you get to the next level. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because this legacy building stuff, this wealth building stuff is not for the weak of heart. And if you're doing it, you're built for it. And we're built to help you get the job done. That's my in closing remarks, Junior.
Yes, sir. I guess what I would leave with is who is fit to be king and who is fit to be queen. If that's you, and you know what, Bobby, sometimes, and guys, put it in the chat if this is you. If you've ever felt like you had the potential to be king, to be queen, but for whatever reason you haven't been able to tap into that potential as yet, if you could feel it, you cannot see it, but you can feel it. You know that there's another version of reality that exists where you are the person that you always knew you could be. Then that is your desire seeking expression. That is your potential seeking expression. So, what I would say to you is my message from yesterday: Eagles rebirth, total self recreation. Figure out what you need to do and just do it. Pluck out the feathers one by one and allow yourself to become the person that you always knew you could be. And that's my message for you today. Okay? If you want to be king, if you want to be queen, you need a brand. And that could only be done through Branded Like a Leader. So, guys, thank you so much. We will be back next week, same place, same time. Have a phenomenal weekend and let's grow. Take care. Bye bye.